Good morning, Teresa McCall, sknvibes.com. I guess my questions could go to Dr. Harris or whomever is so minded to answer. If the unity movement is successful in securing the government, would there be a push to have the Constitution changed to remove those things which are implied and to replace them with specific courses of action, especially given the battle that you are currently involved in?
Thank you for the question. In fact, we are aware that there are certain provisions of the Constitution that we would like to see amended. Our view is that this has to be done in consultation with the people. We also, though, would want to put a caveat that no matter how well constructed the Constitution is, once you have a rogue government, then all those things can come to naught. Because yesterday, one of the things that the judge said in layman's terms was that it is clear. It is crystal clear what ought to be done in a constitutional democracy. It is crystal clear, for example, that when Section 52, subsection 6 doesn't operate, the Prime Minister, nobody has to tell him, save the Attorney General perhaps, that he ought to either resign or call fresh elections to renew the mandate. Well, that is an explicit provision. I'm making the point that it's not an absence of explicitity in relation to the Constitution, why it's not functioning. It is a fact that you have a power-hungry leader who has become a fugitive from the people. And so we are saying as Team Unity, we are for good governance. All those challenges that we now face, we will seek where there is necessary for a legal remedy to bring that legal or legislative remedy for them. So we give that assurance to the people of the country. We have, for example, spoken about the corrupting of the electoral system. And we are saying that you need independent people to manage and operate and supervise the electoral process. We are prepared to do that. Now, even if there is a law, because, for example, I think it is Section 31 of the Constitution speaks to the necessity of a deputy speaker. That provision has not led the outgoing administration to make an appointment, even when they succeeded in increasing the senatorial appointments in the parliament. It is not the absence. The Constitution, for example, is very clear. Can't recall the section, maybe Section 91 now, that says that the estimates must be laid within 60 days of the beginning of the financial year. 60 days. Last time they laid the estimate in about April. So the point then, it is not an absence of provision. We have a bad government, and we need to convert from the bad government into the best unity government that we have. And we will do what's right. We will follow the law and the Constitution.
I hear what you're saying, but just to guard against any such reoccurrence by any government,
as I
would
said,
your
we
government
will
be
consider all the legislative remedies that are required. I just wanted to make the point that making them explicit, and that is why I do reference to a specific provision which says you must have a deputy speaker. The Honorable Sam Kanda has been talking about that. We've been talking about the lateness in the laying of the estimate. There is a provision, Section 71, which specifically gave you the number of days. But the rogue leaguer doesn't care. Check the provision, Jean. Now, how many days? 60 days. 60 days, I had to be right. I was a former Minister of Finance. I remember 60 days. He waited till somewhere in April before the last budget. So to have the best constitution and not have a responsible government people who understand they are not above the law will do nothing for St. Kitts and Nevis. That is why we say we will govern humbly, in humility and in diligence, working hard full-time for the people and working within the construct of the Constitution. What is needed to be done to remedy it, we shall do. But there are certain things which the judge says will always be implied, because the Constitution can't cover everything in an evolving world. And so you have to look at practice. You have to have the view of what you think of government and democracy and look for best standards rather than the worst. The problem with this government and almost every issue, it goes to the least denominator, the worst example. So if you're arguing about a motion of no confidence, they take you back to the 1980s, no matter how wrong they say it was. Well, that is an argument for bad governance, while you are looking for good governance. You want to go forward, they're taking you backward to something that don't happen and which they themselves condemn as being very wrong. But how you are going to progress? Your job as the government must always be to take the citizens and residents from good to better to best. That is how our country progresses. Thanks.
Sorry, another question, please. A 14-month period has elapsed since I think it's 14 months, yes, since the motion of no confidence was filed. Okay. I understand what you're saying about your expectation that it should be tabled, but my understanding is the other side is still saying that it is still sub judice. Now, in light of that, because there are many things being said, yes. Now, in light of that, do you still expect that it would be tabled in a reasonable period of time? Because as I understand, there was the motion filed and that led to a string of events. And what was dealt with yesterday at the court is the final of this string of events. And my understanding from the other side is because other parts of the string of events, they are still before the court. Although I understand what the judge says, because they're still before the court, it is still sub judice. Do you think, in light of that, do you really expect that it would be tabled as quickly as possible?
Apologies. Quickly, I will refer you to paragraphs 144 of the judge's judgment in this matter. And also, well, read 144 to 146. I read 146. Before leaving the issue, this is the learned judge, a brilliant man. Before leaving this issue, I have noted that the Speaker has stated that he considers the last reason why the matter was not listed is because he considered it sub judice. In this context, he has also referred to section, let's welcome the Honorable Premier, Premier Van Samery. Each time some begin to doubt that unity is at work, unity works harder. I'll go back to paragraph 146. Before leaving this issue, I have noted that the Speaker has stated that he considers that the last reason why the matter was not listed is because he considered that it is sub judice. And in this context, he has referred to the Standing Order 43 subsection 1, and that provides reference shall not be made to any matter which is sub judice in such a way as might, in the opinion of the chair, prejudice the interests of the parties hitherto. The court proceedings have arisen because the claimants wish Somebody give me paragraph after that, 147 quickly. Jonah, 147. Thanks. Yes. He said the court proceedings have arisen because the claimants wish to have this motion of no confidence heard. This is why the matter is in the court. It is in the court because we want to have it heard. So if they were hearing it, there was no need for the matter to come before the court. But he went on. If the matter is now placed on the order paper, this is a judge confronting point by point the foolishness that they have been saying to people in St. Kitts and Nevis. Sub judice, you can't. But here the judge is here decide. He says, if the matter is now placed on the order paper and debated, the court proceedings may become moot and merely academic. You have to understand what you say. He's saying to his bellies, you all causing this matter before the court, you know. Once you table and debate the motion, the claimants have no case. It's a matter of academic. Regardless, however, and this is the fundamental flaw in the argument, the judge pushing back. That is in layman terms. Regardless, however, there could hardly ever be any prejudice. Important. The judge is making a nonsense of the argument. He is saying, regardless, however, there could hardly ever be any prejudice caused to the interests of the parties in the court proceedings if the assembly were to debate and vote on the motion while it was still pending in court. No sub judice could prevent the hearing of the motion. But we didn't need to hear it from the judge, although it is good that he confronted that foolishness. Emil Ferdinand said that to us before. Charles Wilkin said that to us before. A retired Chief Justice, normally reticent, don't comment on these things. So Brian Aline said they are making the parliament a useless instrument. That is what it is now. And Tapley Seaton said that. All these three persons, I think it's on WIN website and some of it are on yours. You will find they saying these things before the judge have said that. So it is not that it isn't clear. When you see these lawyers are brave enough to put their knowledge to test, in the public debate they are saying, we are almost certain. And it's only the judge could add more to that certainty because then it's tested. And that argument about sub judice went before the High Court judge, and in his learning and wisdom, he has rejected it. He said that that is a fallacious argument. There is nothing in these court proceedings that should prevent you all from hearing it. And similarly, they argue the court had no jurisdiction. The court yesterday said, yes, we have powerful jurisdiction. Powerful jurisdiction. Because whenever you are not working in accordance with the law, and the judge cited a number of these things, and I'm saying it is dishonesty on the part of the leadership of the government to continue to tout these things. And then you better, just as they attempted to fool the public, this motion ain't a proper motion. What's wrong with the motion? Well, the motion only about one man. It's an entire government. They want to keep people ignorant. So some people, his entire government, it doesn't look right. But here the judge yesterday. But we know even before the judge said that, in Barbados, the motion was against one man, Chris Sinclair's Minister of Finance, for taking Barbados, in the words of Mayor Motley, down the miring clay which we have gone before with the IMF. In Guyana, and the judge made reference to that, there was a man, I think Minister Rohi, who the members of parliament said they didn't want to hear anything from this Mr. Rohi. And the majority in the parliament did a censure motion. And the question, the government challenged it. And the case went to the court. The Chief Justice said, well, listen, motion of no confidence could be against one man or it could be against all. It doesn't matter. And I would want to believe that those people who are saying these nonsense, they know better. But they are disrespecting the intelligence of people of St. Kitts and Nevis. And the people now, having heard the truth, I believe should respond accordingly. Utter crap. And when you go to the judgment, and I'm encouraging those of the press so that these people could understand this more. When you go through it, you see how they have so misled the people, deliberately scandalizing people. Oh, it is that Timothy want to be prime minister. That is the motive, and that is bad, and that is wrong. Hear the judge in this judgment, and that nonsense. Motive is irrelevant to a motion. Once it is a motion, you put it to test. And the test is to debate it in the parliament. Because somebody, if it is only the elected people could become prime minister, at least one of them must have an interest. Or then what will be the point of the motion of no confidence? But they have taken a cavalier and disdainful approach to this very serious matter. And I'm glad that the judge went to pains to explain how serious. In fact, the judge, if I'm not misquoting, went on to say, the motion of no confidence is perhaps the signal piece of constitutional democracy, because how else will you turn around a government that has embarked upon the road to self-destruction? How else will you turn it around except by the instrument of the motion of no confidence? And so when people are exercising their constitutional rights, we are to encourage them for the good of the society to do that and not discourage them.